Laugh it up, fuzzball.
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Here goes the last DJ.
Gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness.
Folks, welcome back to the second hour of the Kristian Fenix Radio Show. This is a Thursday, June 4th. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get to our special guest, and if you guys are watching, he's joining us on video. We have author of I Saw a Tiger and former Joe Exotic TV cameraman, Jack A. Warren. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, obviously for fans of Tiger King, and there's very few people that I know that haven't seen it yet. I Saw a Tiger is obviously the name of a probably the most prominent Joe Exotic song. Let's play a little clip of it here real quick.
'Cause I saw a tiger, now I understand. I saw a tiger, a tiger saw a man. I can give him a home.
So, Jack, real quick, just sort of off the top, you're obviously joining us from Oklahoma right now. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Joe Exotic and that side of things.
So I started back, I want to say 2014, doing video work. I was doing mostly commercials for small for small businesses and different advertising, things like that. So 2017 is when I joined the zoo. I had responded to a Facebook post on a filmmakers forum where they'd post different jobs and whatnot. There was a guy out of Dallas said he had a job over in Oklahoma, about 2 hours away from me, at a zoo that I didn't even know existed, wanting to make a new Steve Irwin-based show about life on the zoo kind of thing. So I'm like, you know what, this sounds fun. I'll give it a shot. I got an interview the next day, walked in, he asked me one question, could I do the job? I said I could, right on the spot.
Easiest interview ever.
It was interesting.
That's awesome. Now, to clarify, you were part of Joe Exotic TV, not the Netflix documentary crew, correct?
Yeah, I was Joe's personal cameraman. A lot of the footage that you saw, the archive stuff on the zoo, I shot a good bit of that, but no, I wasn't part of the documentary.
And then were you part of Rick Kirkham's crew, or was that separate from what you were doing?
He was there about 5 years before me, so he had left. I joined, I want to say like 6 months after the studio burnt down. So I was part of like the new crew that got that whole thing going again.
Okay, yeah, so they wanted to continue on, but almost like a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So how long were you there total?
I was there about 6 months before I called it quits.
So actually that leads me to my next question. I would assume that the work there was pretty grueling. What did your day-to-day look like?
So day-to-day, we got up at, I want to say it was 7 o'clock in the morning. It might have been 9. But we worked 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week. We didn't get a lunch break, and we were living off pretty much cigarettes.
No kidding.
And how about the Walmart meat?
So the Walmart meat, I mean, I didn't have time to go down there and actually go through it. Most of that meat wasn't bad. It was stuff that was sitting out for like 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
People that would go up to the cash register and decide they didn't want it. They can't put it back due to FDA regulations. So it's not that bad. And we checked the stuff before we ate it, but it still was pretty bad.
So you did eat it.
They would feed us breakfast every weekend, and that was what they used.
Yeah. What's your one meal a week?
Yep.
Wow, man, kudos to you for hanging in there for 6 months doing that.
Now, was the time that you were there, was it over the summer, over the winter? I mean, did you have to endure just grueling heat or a lot of cold?
I got there February, so in Oklahoma, that's kind of like the winter time for us, and it wasn't too bad, but it was pretty cold. And then I left around the summertime area, so it was starting to get pretty hot.
Well, it's obvious, the reason that you left after 6 months. I don't think anybody could put up with those conditions for too long. Tell us about your interaction with Joe Exotic himself. Was it cordial? Was it, did you guys go head to head, or was it just, whatever he says goes?
So I didn't fight with him very often. I was there long, and you figured out like by week 1. You can't fight with the man. He knows what he wants, even though he doesn't know what he wants. Every day he would say he wants something completely different than what he wanted the day before. So it was one of those things you kind of just had to put up with him bitching and just go with it. So it wasn't like a bad interaction. I didn't leave on the best of terms because he kind of screwed me over in the long run, but it is what it is.
I'm sorry to hear that. Now, we saw a little bit of it in the documentary series, but, when Joe was doing any of his pre-recorded stuff, how many takes would it take him to get something right on average?
So Joe absolutely hated scripts. He didn't want anything scripted whatsoever because he didn't want to sit there and read through it. So he would ad-lib or just make it up on the spot. Generally speaking, he would get it right the first time. Sometimes it'd be the second or third. I say get it right. It'd be good enough.
So you take a 4-minute clip and have to edit it down to 30 seconds of usable footage?
Sometimes it would just be a 30-minute second where he's just walking and talking, and I have to just kind of run with it. Oh, you guys still there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep, we're still here. So we're going to head into the break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Jack's new book, I Saw a Tiger, and more behind-the-scenes talk about Tiger King, Joe Exotic, and the craziness that exists there. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few.
Everyone is excited about real estate in Northern Nevada, and you will be too after you listen to Nevada Real Estate Radio. Hear what the experts have to say about finding a home, getting a mortgage, investment property, and which neighborhood is right for you. Maybe you purchased your first property recently. Now you have more questions than ever. Get the answers to your questions, plus tips on how to make your next real estate transaction better. Tune in today to Nevada Real Estate Radio, 3 p.m. right here on 1180 AM radio. Nevada Real Estate Radio.
It's sweet. There's no place like it. And as we all know, it's where the heart is. Home. It matters. I'm Grant Brewer with Home at Last, a housing program of Nevada Rural Housing Authority. Join me and expert guests every Tuesday at 4 p.m. on KCKQ 1180 for Home Matters, a show dedicated to all things, well, home. Each week I chat with the industry's best. Lenders, real estate professionals, builders, insurance experts, home inspectors, developers, and specialized housing program experts. They grace the mic, and we dig into today's hot housing topics. Tune in to Home Matters each Tuesday at 4 p.m. at 1180 a.m. KCKQ, the home of community radio. Or listen live and listen again online at americamatters.us. Join us.
Welcome to my house. It's my house.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station.
the power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
And back to the show we are. This is the Kristian Fenix Radio Show on a Thursday, June 4th. We are joined by our special guest, Jack A. Warren, author of I Saw a Tiger and former cameraman of Joe Exotic TV. And Jack, I wanted to talk real quick about your book, which is available over at jackwarrenbooks.net. It is a behind-the-scenes look at Tiger King, but I noticed it's written in almost a third-person, sort of a fictionalized true story. Can you tell us more about the book and your decision to write it in that narrative?
So, I wrote it as a way to try to keep everything close to the facts as much as I could. Obviously, I changed some names and whatnot to keep people's identity safe and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. The book follows my story from the day I got interviewed all the way to the day I left. It is about 99.7% accurate. Everything that happened there is actually what happened. I just changed some names and details. It's actually written more as a kind of like a stylized novel instead of like a full autobiography kind of thing to keep it a little more interesting kind of spin to it.
A little bit easier to read that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. And it's available for pre-order right now. When will it be released?
It's actually be released June 15th. It's about 2 weeks from now.
Oh, nice. Awesome. And is that going to be in physical paperback and ebook or just via ebook?
Right now, it's just an ebook. We do have a paperback that is coming out, but due to the coronavirus, printing's kind of a little down right now, so it's probably going to be about 2 weeks, possibly even a month before that's going to be hitting shelves. But you'll be able to find that on Amazon, just about anywhere. We're even going to have it up in like libraries and whatnot, so it should be pretty easy to get a hold of.
Very cool. I plan on picking it up. It sounds like a good read. I love the synopsis that you have up on your website. Again, that's jackwarrenbooks.net if anybody's interested in pre-ordering. Now, I'm curious, writing this book, sort of chicken or the egg type thing, was it, did you start writing the book after the Netflix show gained in popularity, or had you started working on it even before then?
So I was told from the day that I got out I should start writing something about it, simply because all the amount of stories I have. But it's one of those things. Joe's kind of lawsuit happy. Jeff's not really lawsuit happy, but there's a lot of people that could have filed a lawsuit due to the amount of stories that are getting out. But since everything that has come out with Jeff losing the zoo, Carol closing down Big Cat Rescue, and all this other stuff, nobody's going to be even focusing on it, so it's one of those things where everything just kind of fell into place.
Wait, Carol closed down Big Cat Rescue?
Yeah, she closed it due to all the hate.
Wow.
So right now, they're only getting fed through donations and through her estate, from what I understand, and since the whole forgery thing being going on right now, she looks like she's probably losing her estate, so I'm pretty sure she's done. Joe technically won.
What goes around comes around. The thing I'm fascinated about with the Netflix documentary is typically when you watch a documentary, there's the hero of the story. There's the person that you want to root for. In this documentary, there were no heroes. Everybody was almost despicable, hard to watch. Did you find that was the case in real life?
Oh, yeah. The documentary is really tame for the stuff that these people did. I didn't spend a whole lot of time about Jeff, but I mean, I know that he isn't the nicest person in the world, to put it that way. Joe is a whole lot worse than what is shown in the show. The employees, about 90% of them were all ex-cons. Like, 3 of my roommates were, one of them murdered a guy, one of them was a drug trafficker for the cartel, another one was a sex trafficker. there was so much crazy stuff that happened at that zoo that nobody even knows about.
What about Ranky?
I only met him like once because he didn't like quit, but he was kind of forced off the zoo due to his legs were getting infected from him walking around a lot, so he wasn't ever there.
Well, no,
he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. That's why I asked. He seemed kind of like one of the sane ones.
The most normal, yeah.
And I would say not because you're on the show or anything, but I'd say because you stuck around to actually document it and film and put yourself at risk around these people. I mean, maybe, you'd have to put you guys, like yourself, as the hero of it because you guys had to actually live through that. And it just sounds, it sounds chaotic. I mean, even more so behind the scenes, it's nuts.
It was interesting. I got to do a lot of things that I will never be able to do. I got to climb on top of tiger cages and like shoot. Like I was literally inches away from tiger claws. I got to play with baby tigers every day. It was It was a blast.
That's both exciting and terrifying.
Exactly.
Did you have a favorite tiger that you interacted with?
I did. We had a little baby tiger named Sasha. She was one of my favorites. And then we had a little baby bear named Baloo. He was the best.
That's awesome. Yeah, with all the craziness, obviously the biggest victims are the animals and everything that they've had to go through. But, it's nice to know that there are people out there that want to take care of them and sort of shut some of these petting zoos down, just for the sake of taking Tinder pictures. So as far as interactions go, you mentioned you interacted a little bit with Jigsaw Jeff Lowe, but any interaction with Carol Baskin?
I didn't actually meet her and had a conversation. I've seen her in person, but that was about it. We haven't actually talked. So from my first impression from her, she's a very scary woman. But like I said, I don't know her, so it might be completely different.
How about how many effigies of Carol Baskin did you film Joe Exotic killing?
So when I was there, Joe was he was mostly high off meth 24/7. So we didn't actually shoot a whole lot with Joe. He was around at the park every day, and we had to deal with him. But he didn't want to shoot stuff, so we didn't do a whole lot in the effigies kind of thing. There was a day they went out and they shot some propane tanks, and I believe there was one they blew up then. We had original studio. It was like an actual wood building, and they would shoot the live show there. And anytime he would bring up Carol Baskin, he would get really upset and whatnot. And apparently, he would take one of his revolvers. He had two of them, and he'd start firing it off in the building. There's bullet holes all up and down the walls.
Wow.
They, I guess, salvaged one of the green screen walls they had, and they brought it up to the new studio, and there's just bullet holes all up in it.
Wow. That level of hate is just, it's hard to fathom. What about Joe's paranoia? It seemed by the end that he thought everybody was out to get him.
Mm-hmm. Everybody thought he was crazy for being that paranoid, but the truth of the matter is there was really that many people that was out to get him, so it's kind of, I don't think they're out to get him 24/7, but it's easy to be that paranoid when you have that much hate.
So do you think that he did it? The Carol Baskin thing? Do you think he actually...
murder for hire?
The murder for hire?
So, no, I don't think he did it for two reasons. One, Joe had an actual bullet with Carol's name on it. He was going to put it in her... he was going to put the bullet in her himself. That was his last hurrah. He was going to do that and then shoot himself. That was always the plan.
Wow.
Yeah, so... And the other part is Alan, the hitman. He's a great guy to hang out with, but he's done a lot of drugs in his days. We called him Mr. Clean because he looks exactly like Mr. Clean. So anyways, he hated Joe from the moment he met him, but at the same time, he wasn't all quite there in the head, so I believe he actually thought that Joe had offered to, hired him, and then, I guess, took some money and ran, or I don't know what it was, but I don't think it actually happened. I think it was just all in his head.
Well, to me, it seemed like Jeff Lowe was kind of just trying to push that narrative. And
He was egging it on the entire time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got that vibe.
Jeff Lowe doesn't seem like a super trustworthy person.
What? Yeah.
Unpopular opinion.
So, obviously based on what you said, you don't think that Joe was behind the murder for hire. Now, do you think he was responsible for burning the footage before you got there?
Honestly, I didn't think about it until after the documentary came out. Yeah, now I do. He always blamed Rick Kirkman for doing it.
Right.
He would get so upset when talking about it, and he would always blame him for it. But if you go back and you actually watch the footage of him and the whole him doing the video footage for the GoFundMe to build the new one, I'm not certain if he was on meth because I wasn't there, but it looks like he's tweaking.
Yeah, and he, I don't really believe him when he's doing that bit, you know?
Yeah.
Just, something's amiss.
Yeah. Did you take any souvenirs with you when you left?
I took a hat. It's somewhere. I moved around a couple times, but I actually have the Joe Exotic Live hat.
Oh, now I got peed on by a tiger.
No, but that's funny. So we had a whole thing going on. Anytime anyone would be hired, it wasn't if you were going to get peed on, it was when. And the whole thing was to try to go as long as you could. I think I got like a weekend before I got hit like 3 times in a day.
It's been 7 days.
It's been 7 days since the incident of being peed on.
It smells exactly like microwave butter popcorn.
Seriously?
Wow.
I did not expect that.
I wouldn't expect that, too.
Were there bets going down on the over-under when the new guy would get peed on?
Yep.
Well, we've got just a minute and a half left. Real quick, I want to go back to your book. It looks like such a great read. It is a behind-the-scenes look at the going-ons behind Joe Exotic TV, what happened with Joe Exotic. It's called I Saw a Tiger, available at jackwarrenbooks.net for pre-order. And Jack, anything else you want to say about the book, or say to our listeners that would either be mind-blowing or just to help you out in selling a few extras?
So one thing to kind of note is it is uncensored. We do have a censored version coming out. There's a lot of language. It's kind of how he coped with everything. Plus it was Joe. Everything that came out of his mouth was a swear word. So if you're sensitive to that, wait for the censored version to come out. As for stories, we have everything from a racist goose to the guy, there was a gunman that came into Zuter's Pizzeria to the time I walked into my trailer and found $3 million of cash sitting on the table.
Whoa.
So,
Dude, I gotta read
all
this book,
kinds
man.
of crazy stuff that happens there.
Sold.
If that isn't enough to sell you on the book, I don't know what is. Well, Jack, we appreciate you joining us. We'd love to follow up with you after the book takes off, and we all plan on picking it up as well.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Folks, when we come back, we've got Ryan versus Nickelback. I'm going to go from Joe Exotic to Nickelback. What more could you ask for? Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few.